Heavyweight fighters have always attracted a lot of attention to their fights. The UFC has its fair share of big guys in its division, but there are even bigger men who have never stepped inside their cage. So, subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell, because the next video is about the top 10 fighters whose massive bodies never reached the famous octagon. Umar Kane, known as Rug, is a fighter from Senegal who currently competes in one championship. Kane weighs 260 pounds, stands 6 feet tall, and has been practicing traditional Mbapate wrestling since he was 16, which is the traditional combat art of the Serer people. Young Rug also participated in Lutte avec frappe, which is a form of wrestling with allowed strikes, where he holds an undefeated record of 16 victories at the prestigious Stade Demba Diop Stadium. This Senegalese traditional wrestler caught the eye of Asian scouts in 2021 with his MMA debut at FC after a knockout victory. In just 3 years, he recorded 5 wins and 1 loss and delighted the audience with his supernatural strength, hulking frame, and interesting background story. In his one championship debut, he excelled when he defeated the dangerous martial artist, multiple Muay Thai and kickboxing champion, Alan Ngalani, in the first round. Rug has yet to become known on the world stage, and although he is not there yet, there may be a chance to see him at the UFC. Who would have thought that a strongman could achieve a solid MMA career? We're talking about Mariusz Pudzianowski, 6'1" and weighing 256 pounds. And he is a multiple world champion in lifting, pushing, pulling, throwing, and who knows what else. With many broken records and competing around the globe, his sporting success does not end there, because Pudzianowski has been performing as an MMA fighter at KSW events for 13 years, where he is one of the biggest stars. During that time, he achieved 17 victories, of which 12 were knockouts and 9 defeats. Mariusz also holds records for the most victories and knockouts in the history of the KSW promotion. If you thought there was no way that a man of this size would have enough gas to fight in the cage, it's important to note that he managed to defeat his opponents by decision 5 times in 3-round fights. He also battled other giants of his stature at KSW events, such as Bob Sapp, Butterbean, Tim Silva, and James Thompson. Another crazy fact is that this 46-year-old beast is still an active fighter. The fact that we didn't see any of the Emelianenko brothers in the UFC should be punishable by law, because we never got to see how good they really are. However, today's topic belongs to a younger but bigger brother, Alexander, who's 6'3" and weighs 256 pounds. Although he did not achieve the success of Fedor, Alexander had a solid career worthy of praise. He's a multiple Russian world and European combat sambo champion with 38 MMA matches, event which he won in 2022. Alexander is a master finisher. Out of 28 victories, he knocked out 20 opponents and submitted 5. Some have even expressed the opinion that he is more talented than Fedor, but that is still for a deeper debate. Gabriel Gonzaga, Bob Sapp, Ricardo Moraes, and James Thompson are the names of other giants he managed to defeat. With the fact that he shared the arena with Mirko Filipovic, Josh Barnett, and Fabricio Verdum, but was defeated in those fights. If you were to rank this list by success, Steve Mowry would surely be number 1. This time he ranked 7th with his height of 6'8" and 255 pounds, which is why he carries a simple and accurate nickname, Tall. Steve is a submission artist who has been on the professional scene since 2016 and excelled in matches at Titan FC, where he finished all his opponents. He continued his martial adventure and undefeated record, and stoppage after stoppage at Bellator, where he still competes today, and his debut, as well as the next 3 matches, ended with superb submissions. Mowry's career was going quite well until he encountered the first potholes on the road in 2022, and in the last 3 matches he felt the magic of defeat, no contest, and draw results. Tall Steve was promoted to black belt in BJJ only in 2021 by Gilbert Burns after submitting 6 opponents in 10 wins, but he also has 4 KOs to his name. He's a young and successful fighter who has not yet reached the Dana White organization, but if he returns to winning ways, he has a great potential for that. With a height of 6'8" and a weight of 270 pounds, Ricardo Moraes comes from Brazil from a time when most did not even know about MMA. The Mutant, as he is also known, and now we know why, had a crazy opening to his professional career when he did 5 matches in one night at the IAFC, Absolute Fighting Championship. If you think that's impressive, you should know that he forced the first 4 opponents to submission with punches and finished the 5th with a rear naked choke. And that, watch out now, all in the first rounds. Ricardo had a great start to his career, but later, it went downhill, ending his career after only 10 years. In the meantime, he got a taste of Pride FC and also participated in Jungle Fight and Rings events. Out of 10 wins, he only went to decision once by submission, and finished as many as 8 opponents by knockout. The only man who's managed to knock out this giant was Alexander Emelianenko. The harder they fall, right? American fighter James Thompson is another giant whose nickname says it all. The Colossus tips the scales at 260 pounds, standing in a 6'5" frame that makes him look like a mountain. This old school fighter has been through thick and thin in the MMA scene, and even long losing streaks could not keep him from showing up. For 14 years, he returned to the cage again and again for a good fight, win or lose, performing from Japan all the way to America. He's appeared in major organizations such as Bellator, KSW, Pride, and many smaller promotions. Whenever he entered the arena, a stoppage was guaranteed before the last bell, and in 37 matches, he only went to decision 3 times. It's safe to say that Thompson likes short fights. In 20 wins, he won 13 times by knockout, but was stopped just as many times. He shared the ring with famous MMA names, including Alistair Overeem, Pugiano, Bob Sapp, Don Fry, Butterbean, and Dan Severn. Eric Esch stands out from other massive fighters with his body shape, but that doesn't make him any smaller because his body is huge, but more like a Google Huff cake. But make no mistake, because this cake can really fight. This was proven by his incredible career, in which he has over 100 fights and has been tested in boxing, kickboxing, and MMA battlefields. Competing since 1994, Butterbean achieved 97 victories across 3 sports and proved to be a real knockout machine with 68 opponents he put to sleep. His height is 5'1", with a weight that fluctuated between 296 and 378 pounds throughout his career. And in 2023, he boasted that he had lost an incredible 200 pounds, hinting that he was at a massive 515 pounds for 18 months. Butterbean's weight, on the other hand, never hindered him from putting on a show and winning. And it's really impressive how a man of this build managed to fight at all in a sport where you need high cardiovascular performance and as little body fat as possible. Alexandru is a former junior world judo champion who comes from Romania and can boast of excellent careers in multiple combat sports. Man of many fighting styles, stands at 360 pounds and 6 foot tall, with the nickname Sandu. He won his kickboxing debut against Bob Sapp and can boast of 24 matches, of which 19 were wins and 13 were knockouts. Along with kickboxing, he also built an MMA career where he competed for 18 years. And just like James Thompson, each of his MMA matches ends with a stoppage. The only difference is that he doesn't have a single bout where we can hear the last bell. In addition to his tendency to knock out his opponents, he managed to finish 8 matches by submission. He's prone to finishes, but Lungu was also on the other side of the blade, as he was shut down in each of the 5 defeats. The Romanian mountain, regardless of his successful career, could not find his way to the UFC because he, you won't believe it, exceeded the weight limit. Bob Sapp enjoyed his stardom in the fighting world until he was labeled a punching bucket with more losses than wins. However, Sapp is one of the most famous massive fighters with a weight of 329 pounds and a height of 6'5", who built identical, let's call it success, in kickboxing and MMA careers. He fought over 60 matches and won 24, mostly thanks to his heavy hands. Although Sapp mostly lost fights against high-profile fighters, he had no problem facing the biggest fighters of his era. So he crossed swords with Lungu, Alan Ngalani, Ray Sefo, Mirko Krokop, Banjaski, Pugiano, Fujita, Nogueira, and many others. He's known for not having the gas to fight beyond the first round, so he preferred to be knocked out rather than fight for a decision when he got tired. Bob was always a giant attraction and attracted attention regardless of his lack of skill. So he managed to participate in big promotions such as One, Strikeforce, Ryzen, and Pride. What's impressive, somewhat confusing, but important to note, is that Sap has 2 wins against kickboxing legend Ernesto Hoost. Techno Goliath is a reason why we should check what they pour into the water in South Korea. Hongman Choi is a man of many nicknames, and all of them speak of his massive size, standing an incredible 7'2" and weighing 352 pounds. You will hardly find a bigger fighter than him. He had his ups and downs in martial arts. Although his MMA career is not to be commended due to 4 wins and 5 losses, Hongman was also a kickboxer with 13 wins and 9 losses, because it's a lot harder to beat a big man when you can't take him down. In the kickboxing match, the biggest problem was reaching his head, which was quite difficult considering his reach of 93 inches. Another thing to praise when we talk about the Korean Titan is his heart. That man never gave up, even when Fedor, Mirko, Schill, Badr Hari, Bonjasky, and other K1 greats stood in front of him. They might have looked big in their heavyweight division, but next to Hongman Choi, all of them looked like crumbs. We've reached the end, so like the video while you're here. Share with us which giant is your favorite. Feel free to write those not on this list because there are many more. If you can't wait for the next video, make sure you turn on the notification bell to be the first to know when we release it. Remember to keep your guard up, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.